Equals I remember the exact day she walked away from me. It wasn't dramatic or loud. There were no shouting matches or tears streaming down her face. Just a quiet shrug, a polite smile, and the sudden realization that I no longer mattered to her. We had been together for 3 years, through long nights of shared dreams and endless conversations. And yet, the moment my wallet grew thin, she disappeared as if I had been a stranger all along. I was heartbroken, confused, and angry, but mostly, I was humiliated. How could someone who once said they loved me vanish the moment life got hard? Her name was Anna. She had this laugh that made you forget all your troubles, and eyes that could read your soul without you saying a word. I was in love, completely and foolishly in love, and I thought she felt the same. We had plans, a small apartment in the city, weekend trips, even talk of a future together. But apparently, none of that mattered when my career hit a rough patch, when my bank account dwindled, and when I couldn't keep up with the lifestyle she thought she deserved. I didn't just lose a girlfriend that day. I lost someone I had trusted with my whole heart. Every smile she once gave me felt like a lie, and every memory turned into a knife twisting inside my chest. I wandered through life feeling invisible, questioning my worth, and wondering if I'd ever find someone who saw me for me, not for the money in my pocket. And then, life had a cruel sense of irony. Years later, after clawing my way back, building something of my own, and finally living comfortably, I attended a party hosted by one of the wealthiest families in the city. I didn't expect much, just networking, handshakes, polite smiles. But then I saw her. Not Anna. Her sister, Lila. Lila had always been in the background, quiet, the one you'd notice only if you paid close attention. But now she looked different, confident, radiant, the kind of presence that turns heads without even trying. And she was smiling at me, that warm, inviting smile that made my chest tighten in a way I hadn't felt in years. The twist hit me before I even had a chance to process it. Lila wasn't just smiling. She was walking toward me, and she wasn't alone. She was talking to her family about me, about marrying me. I froze. My mind raced. How could this be happening? How could the sister of the woman who left me be standing here, promising herself to me, when once I had been nothing to her? The room seemed to blur, the laughter and music fading into the background, as if the universe had pressed pause on everything except this moment. And just like that, I realized something I hadn't expected. Life had a way of turning tables, but sometimes, the game it plays is darker than you could ever imagine. I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't the same person I had been when Anna abandoned me, and neither of them would know the storm that was coming. But what I didn't know yet was how deeply this tangled web of love, betrayal, and revenge would cut into all our lives. Before all of this, the heartbreak, the betrayal, and the shocking twist with Lila, my life was simple, though far from easy. I grew up in a small town where everyone knew everyone's business, and I learned early on that love often came with strings attached. I was ambitious but poor, scraping by on odd jobs and small contracts, trying to carve out a life I could be proud of. And that's when I met Anna. Anna was different from anyone I had ever known. She came from a comfortable family, dressed with effortless elegance, and carried herself with confidence that drew people in. She had a spark in her eyes, a curiosity about the world, and she made me feel seen in a way I never thought possible. I wasn't just a guy from a modest background anymore. I was someone she laughed with, shared dreams with, someone she leaned on, or so I thought. We fell in love fast, maybe too fast. Late-night walks, secret coffee dates, endless conversations about the future, it all felt perfect. But as time passed, the differences in our worlds began to show. I had ambition, but money didn't follow me immediately. I worked hard, day and night, but bills piled up, opportunities slipped away, and I couldn't keep up with the lifestyle Anna was used to. And then came the moment I'll never forget. I asked her to stick with me for just a little longer, to believe in us while I worked my way out of the rut. She smiled, looked at me with those beautiful eyes, and told me that love sometimes had limits. That was the moment she left. Just like that, she vanished from my life as if I had been a shadow she no longer wanted to see. It was devastating, but life doesn't pause for heartbreak. I kept going, learning, hustling, building. Slowly, painstakingly, I began to climb. I started my own business, landed a few clients, and eventually made enough to live comfortably. I didn't forget Anna, not entirely, but I also didn't dwell. I focused on myself, on proving that I could succeed without anyone else's approval. Meanwhile, Anna's family remained a subtle presence in my life. Her sister, Lila, was always around, not loud or attention-seeking like Anna, but observant, quiet, and intelligent. When we were younger, I barely noticed her, always focused on Anna. But over the years, I heard stories, saw glimpses of her life, and realized she had grown into someone entirely different from the girl I'd known in passing. By the time the party came, the night I would see both sisters again, I had no idea the threads of the past were about to weave themselves into a trap I couldn't escape. I thought I was walking into a casual social event, a night of networking and polite conversation. I had no idea that old wounds, unspoken rivalries, and the choices of the past were about to collide in ways that would shake everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and revenge. And yet, even as I saw Lila approaching, smiling warmly, I had no idea just how complicated this reunion would become, or how the past I thought I had left behind was about to take center stage in the most unexpected and dangerous way. Because what I didn't know was that Anna's departure had set something in motion, something that would soon make all our lives unrecognizable. The first few moments with Lila were almost surreal. She approached with that gentle, knowing smile, her hand brushing lightly against mine as if we had been connected for years. I could feel the warmth radiating from her, the kind of warmth I had longed for when Anna left. For a fleeting second, I allowed myself to believe in something simple and beautiful again. But reality has a cruel way of crashing in. Anna wasn't far. Across the room, her eyes met mine, not with surprise, but with a flash of something I couldn't immediately identify. Was it envy? Regret? Or something darker, like satisfaction at seeing the man she discarded now standing near her sister? My chest tightened, and I suddenly felt the years of hurt and humiliation rush back all at once. Lila, sensing something in my hesitation, tightened her grip and whispered my name, soft but deliberate. My mind was spinning. Why was she here, so confident and close, when I had never noticed her before? And why now, of all times, did she choose to step into my life like this? The conversations that followed were polite on the surface, but the tension was palpable. Anna hovered nearby, laughing with acquaintances, but always glancing in our direction. I could feel her eyes slicing through the air, judging, testing, and perhaps even plotting. It was like walking a tightrope over a pit of old wounds and unspoken grudges. Every word Lila spoke felt layered with meaning, every smile hiding a question I couldn't yet answer. And then came the subtle but devastating revelation. Lila's family wasn't just introducing her casually. They were actively discussing her marrying me, arranging conversations, hinting at proposals, and treating me as if I were already part of their plans. My mind reeled. The sister of the woman who had abandoned me was now stepping into the life I had worked so hard to build. I wanted to pull back, to escape this strange collision of past and present. But something in Lila's gaze held me in place. There was trust there, maybe even admiration, but it carried the weight of a challenge I wasn't ready to face. And Anna was watching every second, her expression unreadable, a storm hidden behind those familiar eyes. The room seemed to shrink, the laughter and chatter fading into an almost suffocating silence around me. I knew one thing. Nothing about this evening was accidental. The past, the heartbreak, the betrayals, they were all converging, and I was right in the middle of it. And at that exact moment, as Anna stepped closer, I realized something that made my blood run cold. What had started as a reunion might very well become a war none of us would walk away from unchanged. The days after that party were a blur of polite meetings, social gatherings, and stolen moments that felt both thrilling and dangerous. Lila kept appearing in my life in ways that felt almost orchestrated. Coffee meetings, casual chats at events, texts that lingered long into the night. Every interaction was careful, measured, but charged with a tension I couldn't ignore. She was here, yes, but so was Anna, always just beyond the edge of my vision, watching, waiting, calculating. Every time I thought I could breathe, Anna's presence reminded me of the past I had tried to bury. Seeing her laugh at something trivial, noticing the way she still knew how to get under my skin, it was impossible to shake the feeling that she hadn't truly left me behind. And yet Lila was different. There was warmth, patience, a sense that she wanted to understand me, really see me. But her closeness made the old wounds ache in ways I wasn't ready to face. Then came the subtle games, the small provocations that turned every meeting into a minefield. Anna would appear at the same events without warning, sometimes making a casual comment or casting a glance that froze me in place. Lila, meanwhile, would lean in, whispering reassurances, her eyes bright with curiosity, her hand occasionally brushing mine in a fleeting, electric touch. It was intoxicating and terrifying. I began noticing patterns, small but deliberate. Anna's friends would ask pointed questions, always circling back to Lila's interest in me, to my successes, to the way I had moved on. Lila's family subtly hinted at arrangements, casual mentions of futures and possibilities that seemed innocent but carried weight. Every step felt calculated, every smile loaded with meaning. And the more I tried to ignore it, the more the tension tightened around me. Nights became restless, filled with dreams of confrontations I couldn't stop from playing in my head. Would Anna confront me directly? Would Lila reveal a hidden agenda? Or was there something far darker at play, something neither of them would admit until it was too late? The emotional strain was unbearable. I felt torn between the past I couldn't escape and a present that promised something I hadn't dared hope for. Each meeting, each glance, each accidental touch seemed to push me closer to a breaking point I didn't want to reach. And I realized I was no longer just a bystander. I was part of a game whose rules I didn't fully understand, where love, betrayal, and ambition collided in unpredictable ways. Then, one evening, it all came to a head. Lila had invited me to dinner, a quiet, private affair. The candles flickered, casting shadows that danced across her face. I could see the vulnerability behind her confident smile, the sincerity in her eyes. For a moment, I allowed myself to believe this could be the start of something real. But just as she reached across the table to touch my hand, the door opened, and Anna stepped inside. Her gaze locked on mine, slow, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. The air seemed to thicken, the world shrinking until it was only the three of us in that room. And in that suspended silence, I knew the storm I had been trying to avoid was about to hit, and nothing would ever be the same again. Anna didn't just step into the room. She came with a secret I never could have imagined. As soon as the door clicked shut behind her, her eyes locked on Lila's, and a smile curved across her lips. One that wasn't friendly, one that carried a warning. "You really think you know him?" Anna said, voice low but sharp. "Do you know why I left? Do you know what I really wanted all those years ago?" My heart raced. Lila froze, her hand still hovering near mine, confusion and a hint of fear flickering across her face. Anna took a step closer, and suddenly the entire dynamic shifted. She revealed that she had never truly left because of money, or because she didn't love me, but because she had been protecting a secret, one that involved my family, my past, and the choices I had never even considered. And then she said the words that made my blood run cold. "If you think this is about love or betrayal, you're wrong. Everything you've worked for, everything you thought was safe, it's all part of something far bigger, and now, both of you are trapped in it." In that instant, the room felt smaller, the air heavier, and I realized that nothing was as it seemed, and that the real story, the real danger, was only just beginning. The tension in the room was unbearable. Lila's hand dropped slowly, her eyes wide as she tried to process Anna's words. I felt trapped between them, the past and present colliding in a way that left me dizzy and disoriented. I had spent years trying to rise above heartbreak, only to be thrust back into the storm I thought I'd survived. Anna stepped closer, her gaze sharp, almost predatory. "Do you think leaving me was the end of it?" she whispered. "No. You've been living in my shadow, building your life unaware of what I set in motion years ago." I swallowed hard, heart pounding. The walls of the room seemed to close in as the truth slowly unfolded. Anna's departure had never been about money or me failing. It had been about manipulation, control, and revenge against someone I had never suspected, someone tied to my family's hidden secrets. Lila's face fell, realizing that her carefully planned entrance into my life had unknowingly played into Anna's intricate scheme. But then, something shifted. Lila stepped forward, her voice steady and strong. "Enough." She turned to me, eyes filled with determination. We don't have to be pawns in her game. The confrontation escalated rapidly. Words turned into accusations, accusations into confessions. Old grievances, betrayals, and secrets spilled into the air like fire. I felt every emotion at once: anger, betrayal, love, and a strange, liberating clarity. I finally understood that the power Anna had over me wasn't real. It was built on fear and uncertainty, and I had the strength to break it. I faced her, calm but resolute. "This ends tonight," I said. And for the first time in years, I refused to let the past dictate my life. But just as I thought we were reclaiming control, Anna smirked, a cold, almost amused expression. "You think you've won?" she said softly. "You have no idea what I've already set in motion, and it's too late to stop it." Her words hung in the air, a chilling reminder that even in victory, the consequences of the past could still strike. The room was silent, and I realized the final act wasn't over. Something deeper, darker, and more unexpected was still waiting to reveal itself. The night stretched on, heavy with the weight of revelations, accusations, and unspoken emotions. Anna's threats lingered in the corners of the room, but something had shifted. I realized that the fear she once held over me no longer existed. I was no longer the same person who had been abandoned, humiliated, and left to struggle alone. I had grown, survived, and discovered a strength I didn't know I possessed. Lila stayed close, her hand brushing mine with quiet reassurance. She didn't need to say anything. Her presence alone reminded me that love could exist without manipulation or hidden agendas. She had chosen sincerity over games, trust over fear, and I finally felt the possibility of a future that wasn't shadowed by past pain. Anna, on the other hand, retreated slowly, her expression unreadable. There was no dramatic showdown, no final confrontation, only a tense understanding. I had claimed my life back, and she knew that whatever plan she had set in motion, I would no longer be a pawn. Over the next few weeks, I carefully rebuilt the connections and routines that had been disrupted by this whirlwind of betrayal and revelation. Lila became more than a presence. She became a partner, a confidant, and eventually, the person I could imagine sharing my life with. We laughed, we planned, and we moved forward, aware of the shadows of the past, but refusing to be defined by them. Anna remained in the background, a reminder that some stories never end neatly. Sometimes people leave, sometimes they return, and sometimes the impact of their choices lingers long after they're gone. But I had learned the most important lesson. The past may shape us, but it does not control us. Our choices, our courage, and our willingness to embrace genuine connection determine the life we lead. There were moments of reflection, of understanding, when I realized that heartbreak, betrayal, and even anger could teach resilience, empathy, and clarity. Lila's love was not a replacement for what I had lost. It was proof that growth and healing are possible, even in the wake of deep wounds. And yet, in quiet moments, a small shiver of doubt remained. Anna's final words echoed in my mind. "You have no idea what I've already set in motion." It was a reminder that life's twists never truly end. They just evolve. I smiled at Lila one evening as we watched the city lights flicker in the distance, feeling a warmth I hadn't thought possible years ago. Whatever the future held, challenges, surprises, or even betrayals, I knew I was ready. I had survived the past, faced the storm, and emerged stronger, wiser, and open to love once more. The story wasn't just about loss or revenge. It was about the power to reclaim your life, to forgive, to grow, and to choose hope, even when the world seems determined to remind you of heartbreak. And as for Anna, some mysteries, some shadows, are meant to linger, keeping life unpredictable, thrilling, and never entirely safe.